MovieWeb.com.
Welcome to Australia.
You'd be a lot more comfortable if you changed into something a little less, constricting.
You keep your eyes on the road.
Mr. Drover, there's only one tent.
We're not really used to,
A woman?
Guests. We're not used to guests, that's what I was about to say.
Out of all the action and the drama and the romance,
Yes.
I think my favorite scene has the kids sitting and watching The Wizard of Oz in the rain. And I'm wondering, where did the idea of watching a film in the rain come from?
Well, actually, there are two parts to that answer. I mean, obviously, one of the big things in the film is this issue of the mixed-race children who had a white parent and a black parent being forcibly taken by their families, and they were put into institutions. You know, it was this terrible scar in the history of our country. But I found when I was researching that there were actual cases where the Aboriginal families would take black chalk or boot polish and darken the skin of their children to hide the fact that they were actually partially European. And then this idea, in the cinemas up there, you know, in the north, it's so hot, all the cinemas are outdoors. So then came the idea, also linked with that, is that there's a big emotional romance scene with Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman. And they're always going to get together and always going to get together, and eventually this thing called the wet, which is like monsoons. So the rains break and they fall upon the land, and now this kind of beginning of the wet symbolizes the beginning of their relationship. They go up the stairs and they sort of make love. And in the cinema, you know, Nala is watching The Wizard of Oz, but what's crucial is that the rain sort of is washing his sort of the charcoal that's been put on his face down. So it sort of makes little tears, and it was really. It was an idea of sort of cleansing, actually, of the idea of, as Nala says at the end of the film, the King George teach me, the rain will fall, the grass grow green, and life begin again. So it's that idea, that motif.
Well, this is such a giant epic, and Nala is a central part of the film. I'm wondering, what sort of challenge was it to find a kid that wouldn't annoy audiences, that audiences would fall in love
You
with?
know, that's a really good, like saying annoy, that's, no one's sort of brought that up, but that's absolutely right. I mean, and not only does Nala not annoy, because young actors can be annoying sometimes, you know, if they're too pushed. But the phenomena has really started to break out in the last few days that he is far from annoying. There's been a profound connectivity with him. Now, this is a little boy whose family are actually traditional people. I mean, even to begin working with him, I had to go hunting and living on traditional life for some days just to come to find a way that we might be able to work together. We saw 1,000 boys, you know, the team, the casting team. There were 200 in a group, and then it came down to 20, 10. And 10 came down to Sydney, and of that 10, one was a real possibility. That was Brandon Waters. So he is actually a special child, I think. And I think the key to him is that it's not really acting. He doesn't really read the camera. You know, he's so present that you look into him and you feel truth coming from him.
Okay, well, I want to also ask you before I go about the 6 different innings that you shot and the fact that the drover actually died in the original version.
Well, I wrote 6. I didn't shoot 6. I wrote 6. And I shot 3, and really one was tragic and one was quite happy. But the one I found, the one that's in the movie, and this is true to my process really, you know, is that it's a response to the world we're in now. Because I think that as I was making the film, the world was becoming more and more destructive. It was losing its center, and now we're in times, there's a lot of fear out there. And variously in different endings I wrote in the different 6 ones, and I'll probably include the scripts of them in the DVD, because some of them are quite funny, really. But, you know, some of them got Drover, one of them starts with Drover dying in the muds in New Guinea in the war, you know. And one they get married. There's one of them where they get married under a boab tree. And then he goes off to war. But the one that I found, it sort of found me. And it came out of a response to the world we're living in now. And without being too pointed about this, there's another very famous film that ends with something like, what will I do I know I'll go back home. After all, tomorrow is another day. And I think that it was really important that this film had "and life goes on" as an ending. There's a twist, there's a death at the end, and a twist, as you know. But I think it's important that the film gives this sense of life goes on.
I will come and find you, whatever happens, whatever it takes.
You're gonna have to be strong. Can you do that?